There's a moment many of us still feel in our bones. The final bell rings, shoes thunder down a polished corridor, and laughter spills into the open air. Yet one child remains, settling into a wooden desk that suddenly feels far too big for the room. As the chatter fades, a stillness takes over, the kind of quiet that defined 70s detention. It wasn't loud or dramatic. It was the silence that did the work. Today, it's almost hard to imagine just how powerful that hush could be, but back then, it shaped the entire mood, leading into everything that followed. To understand why detention felt so weighty in the 1970s, you have to picture the school day itself. Classrooms were ruled by chalkboards, wooden desks, and handwritten registers that teachers guarded with quiet authority. Rules were clear, routines even clearer, and most pupils knew exactly where they were expected to stand, sit, and behave. Britain was still shaped by post-war values, where order and reliability mattered deeply. And schools reflected that wider mood. Discipline wasn't simply about keeping classrooms calm. It was seen as part of building character, teaching children how to carry themselves in a world that prized steadiness. Even small details supported that feeling. The echo of morning assemblies, the neat lines outside classrooms, and the respectful nods to teachers who represented something larger than the lessons they taught. For many families, structure offered reassurance in a country undergoing social and economic change. So when detention entered the picture, it wasn't treated casually. It sat neatly within a cultural belief that young people benefited from moments of stillness and reflection. That mindset shaped every corridor, every classroom, and every quiet pause across the school day, creating an environment where consequences felt meaningful rather than harsh. For many pupils, there was a particular feeling that settled in the stomach the moment you were told to stay behind. It wasn't anger or fear, more a quiet sinking, as if the school day had suddenly stretched itself just for you, while everyone else spilled into the playground or headed for the gates. You took that slow walk back into a classroom that felt strangely different once lessons were over. The sunlight seemed softer, the chairs tidier, the air heavier with expectation. You chose a desk, or sometimes the teacher chose it for you. And the moment you sat down, the familiar ticking of the classroom clock grew impossibly loud. No raised voices were needed. The atmosphere did all the talking. A single look from the teacher, steady and calm, carried more weight than any lecture. It was a reminder that this quiet hour wasn't about being in trouble as much as it was about pausing, thinking, and understanding the rhythm of school life. And as the door clicked shut, you knew the world outside could wait for a while. Once you'd settled into that desk, the true test began, the kind of quiet that made every small sound feel enormous. The teacher would place a sheet of slightly scruffy paper in front of you, often filled with neat lines to copy or questions to work through. Nothing complicated, just enough to keep your mind focused while the room held its steady hush. The faint rustle of pages, the gentle scrape of a chair on a wooden floor, even the soft thud of your pencil returning to the desk, all of it felt magnified. And then there was the smell of old textbooks, a comforting but unmistakable reminder of countless lessons learned in that very room. Time behaved differently in detention. Minutes stretched themselves thin, each one feeling twice as long as it should. You'd glance out the window, watching classmates drift home, their bags swinging freely in the afternoon light. The sun would dip a little lower, shadows lengthening across the playground. While you waited for that quiet moment when the teacher finally said, "You may go," releasing you back into the world outside. What's striking, looking back, is how much was learned in detention without a single lecture being delivered. The quiet itself taught responsibility, a gentle reminder that actions had consequences, even small ones. Sitting there with nothing but your thoughts and a simple task in front of you, reflection crept in naturally. In a school day filled with chatter, movement, and hurried lessons, this was one of the few moments where everything slowed enough for you to really think. Many pupils left not feeling punished, but strangely steadier, as if the silence had reset something inside them. There was also an unspoken understanding between teachers and pupils. Boundaries were clear, respected, and rarely questioned. Teachers didn't need long explanations. Their calm presence said enough. And pupils, even if they didn't fully grasp it at the time, sensed that these quiet pauses were part of growing up in 70s Britain, learning self-control, patience, and how to fit into a world that valued reliability. It was discipline delivered with stillness rather than sternness, shaping far more than behavior in the moment. What lingers most from those afternoons isn't the task on the desk, but the feeling that followed. Walking out of the classroom, you stepped into corridors that were strangely empty, echoing only with the distant hum of a school settling down for the evening. The soft light of late afternoon filtered through high windows, casting long shadows that made everything feel calmer, almost peaceful. By the time you reached the doors and pushed them open, the cool air outside felt like a quiet reward after so much stillness. What once seemed strict now carries a hint of humor and a surprising warmth. We remember the experience not as a burden, but as part of a shared cultural moment, something almost everyone went through in one form or another. It's the memory of growing up in a Britain that valued steadiness, where even a simple hour of silence became a small step toward understanding, responsibility, gently leading us into the wider world. Looking at today's schools, you wonder whether pupils would recognize the kind of detention we knew. Modern classrooms rely on digital tools, quick messages, and gentler approaches, while the 70s offered something far simpler, a quiet pause with no screens, no noise, just time to think. That simplicity shaped an entire generation. As we close, it's worth asking what memories stay with you, and which quiet moments from your own school days still echo the strongest. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.